So, Dr. Pai, would you ever think about taking Bloom public?
Yes, but
What do you think the next generation of doctors should understand about money?
they need to first focus on.
A medical innovation you wish you had invented.
It's called.
Oh, good Lord.
IVF was perceived very differently. So, what were the stigmas that you had to fight?
Always the problem in our country has been that the country is very large. You have a technology. How do you communicate to the people? And that time, given the press was developing, I found that new route. I used the communication mediums to rise rapidly in my career.
If not a doctor, what would you be?
No, I think it is the best profession. I would still like to be a doctor and a gynecologist only. I have no regrets about being a gynaec.
How do you manage being so simple with all that you achieved?
Because healthcare is not money. Money, I feel, is a byproduct of healthcare. Healthcare is service.
This is something all of us young doctors have to remember all our life.
When I was going through the first investment, they always used to say, the private equity, Dr. Pai, the business should be without you. We don't want you in the business.
Oh my God.
In the 1990s in India, IVF was a foreign concept, often misunderstood and sometimes feared. And yet, a man saw not just a treatment but a moment. He not only built clinics, he built credibility, confidence, and care in a deeply emotional space. For over a decade, he has been a pioneer, a practitioner, and a policymaker, pushing boundaries from Mumbai to Manila and from clinics to global think tanks.
He has proven himself as an astute leader with absolute understanding of the grassroots gynecologist as well as the people who are in the elite group of services when it comes to OBGYN. He has not only created academic excellence, but a person who has been awarded degrees, not just the topmost degrees from our country, but also whether it is the degrees coming from RCOG or FICOG. He has been a representative for all of us gynecologists at all possible platforms wherever it is possible. The gentleman is none other than Dr. Hrishikesh Pai. Welcome, sir.
Oh, hi.
So, first of all, sir, I would like to go back to the old age where you started as a young, talented gynecologist with one of the most premier medical institute, a KEM alumni. But what made you choose this subject when your father was also a doctor? How did he come up to the subject of gynec?
So, I was always in conflict. In my 12th standard, I was quite a good in my mathematics. In fact, I got 100 out of 100 in maths in 12th. And I was actually thinking of going towards engineering and IIT. And there was a conflict between me and my thought process, whether I should take medicine or I should take engineering. Ultimately, my dad said, you would decide what you want to. And I felt that my calling was more towards medicine. And after that, when I entered medicine, again, when I finished my MBBS, again I was in conflict because I wanted to be like my father. I used to really hero worship my father because he was from Harvard University in United States.
Oh, wow.
He did his master's in public health there, and he was a fantastic. He was a freedom fighter. So he was the general secretary of KM Hospital, and everyone used to adulate him, and I was also his fan, and I wanted to be like him. He was a preventive public health man. So he said, no, Doc, Rishikesh, don't do that because I don't have that much money because, income was a problem. He was a professor. I don't have that much respect. Those days, public health was not given prioritization like it is given now. And he said, no, you should become something else, maybe a surgeon. So I took the happy middle that and became a gynecologist. And I'm very happy because later on in my life, because I became later on office bearer of multiple organizations, including president of the federation called Foxy, where I could do a lot of public health. So ultimately, I reached my goal, but in a different way.
So, what made you choose IVF?
So, I was finished my gynecology and I was in KM hospital and Dr. Indira Hinduja was dabbling into IVF. She was a pioneer. She had the first IVF baby in our country. And I was a houseman and then I became a registrar. And we used to be fascinated by her. And of course, at that point in time, I was not that much fired by the standard obstetric and gynecological practice. So I found this very attractive, and so I went into this field of IVF. Because it was new. It was where science and religion come together. So it was a amalgamation of two different things. You actually see life in the petri dish. So it's something very unique. And those days there were hardly any people. There were just Dr. Indira Hinduja. And when I entered IVF in India, there were only 10 people.
Oh, wow.
Okay, there were only 10 people. Now, of course, there are 5,000 IVF centers and growing. So those were the heady days of a new technology coming in.
So right from beginning, it is for sure that you were having a futuristic vision.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting message for all of us, that you need to think beyond the time that you are in. Only then can you think of success at a later stage. Over to you, Nehal.
IVF was perceived very differently. So, what were the stigmas that you had to fight, and how do you think the whole concept around IVF has evolved in today's times? And do you still see challenges in mindset, which is very different when it comes to IVF?
No, though, one thing is that the Indians are very pragmatic and matter of fact in when it comes to healthcare. So, like, when IVF was never, there was no like stigma. Some people used to say, "Arey, IVF means you are taking someone else's egg or sperm." So that concept was there, but then you just everyone know it's your own egg and your own sperm which you take. So the right from the beginning, if you see any healthcare, the Indian people, they accept it very rapidly, be it IVF, be it abortion. Look at our country, very pragmatic about abortion. There's no nonsense, sterilization, so they don't have any issues. Transplant, everything is very pragmatic. So I never had any problems with the people. It was just that it was new line and it was exciting. And the the always the problem in our country has been that the country is very large, and how do you communicate? You have a technology. How do you communicate to the people? And that's where I found the new, the that time even the press was developing. I found that new route of talking to the press. Through the press, I could percolate to the people. The television was coming up in a big way. The cable channels were coming in. So because you have a technology, how do you tell the people that you have the technology? The access to care is a challenge even now all over the world. How do you access the care where people, where is the care available? So I use that medium very effectively. And my father was a communicator also before me. I use the communication skills and communication mediums to rise rapidly in my career.
How and when did the inception of Bloom IVF began, and what really inspired you to take this whole entrepreneurial journey?
So, like, I was growing slowly and all, but my father, though we had a family planning center and we were doing very well there, it was an abortion and family planning center. And at one point in time, we used to do 100 procedures a day. So, it was fantastic. But that was the technology of that time. So, when I evolved slowly, when I came first, I went to corporate, all of them refused me. It was such, so in the olden days, the corporates were different. They were very traditional. You couldn't get an attachment. Today you get an attachment if you're good. So the whole thing has changed. But those days I was very disgruntled. Everyone, my father was also very helpless. He would say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And that was the best thing that happened to me because they refused me. Otherwise, I would have been languishing in some corporate hospital, being the full time. No, then I went into practice and I started struggling. And then I realized that I needed someone to help me along. My wife Rishma was there and all, but I came across Dr. Nandita Palsetkar and together we came together in a partnership. Initially, it was a partnership when we converted into a corporate in 1995. So I started IVF in 1990. In 1995, I started the company. It was initially a partnership, and then we ultimately, in 10 years down the line, because we realized that partnership, we need to corporatize things. So we converted it into a company and then we branded it as Bloom IVF because we started the company as Babies Are Us Fertility Center. And one fine day I got a litigation notice from him. Toys R Us. They said this is our band. So then we changed the company name to Babies and Us. Then we said that let's have that as a basic corporate but entity. But the Bloom IVF is the brand that we evolved.
A lot of doctors need to understand how branding makes a difference. And so early on in the 90s, he bought this whole concept of branding the whole practice and not making it just a commodity. In my decade and a half of working with doctors now, a lot of time doctors struggle with work-life balance, or they struggle to scale up because, they have not found the right co-founder. So I think you were very ahead of your time in 90s to find the right co-founder. So what qualities do you think makes someone a good co-founder, and what would be your advice to doctors that why having a co-founder makes a difference?
So, you need to have a co-founder, I feel, because then your work gets divided and you can also dedicate your time to other things of life. Of course, if you have a co-founder, you also share your wealth. So you have to decide. But in the long term, because you have but you can't have too many co-founders. You can't have too many partners to share your wealth. So you should maximum two or three, I would say. So in the long term, you can grow the business and then ultimately, monetize your business. So having someone else also, and the second thing, what happens is you start investing and you don't have the fear because we had two of us. If there's a law, there are two of us. If there's a litigation in your practice, there are two of us who are together. So we always decided that whatever happens, we'll always stick together. We are not going to be divided in our approach. If I get litigated or she gets litigated, it's like my litigation. It's our business. So we always looked at it as a combination, and that really helped us. And then each one of us brings. I was more technology. She was more public oriented. She had a background of politics as well. I had a background of other, medical background. So it was a compatibility which was good for both of us.
The take home message is that you need to find a co-founder who is very compatible, but yet they bring different skills. Like she had a completely different skill set than what you brought on table. And so it's like opposite poles attract, but yet they need to be compatible.
But down the line, you start equalizing. So whatever the deficiencies you have, your co-founder takes, and we become equal. And then at the time when you have to exit.
So the interesting part here was that we bring a co-founder, and we all know that Dr. Nandita Palshetkar in herself is an icon, and she has been brilliant in the field all across. But it is also important to understand it is not just about bringing a co-founder for profit sharing, but it's also about risk sharing and also bringing different aspects so that growth becomes faster and more fast-paced. Well, I think about this question again, sir. You mentioned that your father was already running a family planning center. So was it not difficult for you to break the shackles and start into a subspecialty, which was not a proven profitable thing, when you had actually an opportunity to scale up your own practice or your own family planning center?
Yeah, it was something like a sixth sense. I knew that somewhere down the line, I don't know what happened, but thank God I went into IVF because my dad used to joke about it. He said, when I touch a patient, they become sterile. My son touches, they become fertile. And he used to call me the black sheep of the family. But because he was a very committed family planner, and you're seeing what they did. Now you're seeing that NRR, the national reproductive rate, is gone down to less than 2. What the effort was done by those people, we are now seeing the fruits of that effort, which is very important because we need to stabilize our population. But thank God that happened because with the advancement of the medical abortion and all, the abortion industry totally came down. With the advancement of contraception, and I took this new line and that scaled up. In fact, if you see in our field of obstetrics and gynecology, even the delivery rate is going down. And also in private practice, we are facing another big problem, and that is that the government hospitals are doing very well. And as I was telling you, that respectful maternal care. So that is being done in all our government hospitals. The hospitals are so good now that there's a reverse movement. A lot of people are going to government hospitals to deliver. So as a result of all this, the private practitioners, the obstetric work has gone down, and they have to look for new avenues. See, you have to keep on reinventing yourself. I feel that any business, you will have to every 5 years. And this I read in the Fortune magazine. Once I was traveling and I picked up in the lounge the Fortune magazine, and there was an article that they said that everyone will have to reinvent themselves every 5 years because you can't stick to one job. And so we have to keep on. So this was a reinvention, and I feel that. So in my line, I kept on bringing new technology every 3-4 years, going. And of course now what has happened is there is a plateauing of technology. Though new technology is coming in now, nanotechnology is coming in. There's a new technology where you can create organs from cells. You can reverse the cells. So many new things are coming in, even in the cellular technology. So there's always a change. So I was telling my wife the other day that I need to take a sabbatical and go to Japan again, go and work in translational medicine, go and research and bring in new technology, because Indians are very good at applying technology. See, we are good copy masters and replicate. Though we are also having now a lot of research in India, but our prioritization is implementation. We can't but too much, though it's very important. Now we saw in our war also that we had a lot of defense, Akash missiles and all that. So we have brought in a new technology. So same thing, we must also keep on doing research in medicine, but medicine, it is not that prioritized. You can always copy the technology and bring it and apply it. That's much more easier to do.
I think a good take home message for all doctors is that don't get into a position of complacency. Go out there, travel across the world, see what's innovation in your field, and maybe learn that and come and apply it in India. And that's the way where you won't get redundant, but will always be ahead of curve in whatever you're doing and stay relevant for years and years to come.
So I'll tell you one story that I went to Melbourne for doing my IVF, and after 2-3 years, another person went who also learned IVF and then went to back to in Guwahati, where he made very large hospitals. And 1-2 years back, he came and talked to me. He said, "Arey Rishi, what are you doing? You are still where in your own IVF, but I've got big 1,000-bedded hospitals I've built. What are you doing? I'm into building." And also I looked at it and I went back in the night. I said, did I do the right thing? So you have to decide what is the right thing in your mind. For that doctor, he used his profession to build his wealth, he built his buildings, he built his big hospital. I used my profession, my money to put back into my business to get the pleasure of a new technology. So when you put money in your business, you obviously that is a depreciating investment, isn't it? He had a appreciating. So one standard doctor is saying, what is this? Or I want to become big. I want to own land in Lonavala. I want to have thousands and thousands of stocks. I want to have 4-5 big hospitals where I sit as the administrator and run the business and money will flow. That's another. My philosophy is not that. My return on investment is pleasure, passion, what I do, or new technology I did. I treated the patient because I'm a doctor. I'm not a businessman. I've come to this line to practice my profession. I've not come to this line to do business. If I want to do business, I'll go into the stock market. Why would I be in medicine? So this is very important. And that is why a lot of people disrespect doctors, because they feel that doctors are here to make are more tilted towards finance. Most of us we are good doctors, but we have to not make our patient feel that we are finance oriented. Finance is a byproduct of your profession. You can't make it the be all and end all of your profession.
That's beautiful. I think what he brings to the table is the concept of not being focused on profitability, but understanding the meaning of passionpreneurship. We have been hearing this terminology now, but this is a live example where he mentioned beautifully that we reinvest our money in new technologies. Although when you get a new technology, invest a lot, it will get depreciated very fast. But still, it gives you the pleasure and the passion of working as a doctor.
It will get depreciated, but people will appreciate you.
Don't bother about depreciation when it comes to new technology, because it has its own set of appreciation and value when it comes to public health and reaching out to the large audiences. One more beautiful thing he mentioned about was this, that it is not just about building wealth, but when you're talking about healthcare, it's also about building brand and getting value in healthcare, which is far-reaching for generations and for larger number of audience. I think which is a beautiful take-home message which all carry together.
So, Dr. Pai, a lot of time doctors are in this rush of scaling up or expanding. But when we look at your journey, you've been very passionate to bring newer technologies, invest in upskilling yourself, and like we said, that not getting redundant and being ahead of curve. So, what really inspired you to think very differently?
So I think that when I was in my 90s, let's say I started, and in after in like 2000, like 2000 around 2010, I started feeling that lot of change had started entering the line. Investment had started coming, private equity investment had come, and I knew that there's going to be competition, and I anticipated it and I started expanding. In fact, I was one of the first to about get funded.
Yeah, we got a lot of stories that you got funding and you're going to.
But we both, me and Nandita, my business partner, we both walked away from the funding. The person who really, it was about to be the sign, the document. I felt that see, I'm a very ethical person. I didn't want someone to fund me and not get the return. Huh. That you can't guarantee a return, but if you feel that there's some flaw, and I felt that the business was not streamlined, I that what uh, you know helped me was I learned how to like show the top line. It's very important to deposit everything in your account so that your value of your business goes up. Okay, it's very important to be transparent, because when they were valuing my, the valuers came, so they were seeing all the accounts and all. So it was very important, and I learned a lot of things, and I realized that no, this is not the right time. And also there was another thing that happened at that point in time was that I was still in my profession. So I always tell the youngsters, I think there are four important aspects of your life. One is the academic aspect. Second, so you have to be academically good. Because you have to feel good in your heart, na, that you're academic. I mean, you can always say, "Arey, I want to finish MD and I want to jump into private practice." But academics is the cornerstone of our medical practice. It has evolved because of academics. So you must be academically good. You must be professionally good also. Okay. You must have professional standing. People in your profession should respect you. You must be socially good. People, when you walk in the garden in the morning, they should say, "Arey, doctor, sir, kaise ho aap?" And that is very important, social standing. And you must be financially also okay. So these are four aspects of your career.
This is something all of us young doctors have to remember all our life.
So, I felt that when I was expanding the business, because of this, I was not fully satisfied with my professional goals. Me as well as Vandita and all of us we're still busy with our professional rise. We none of us had been, so we became the endoscopy society president, the IVF society president, then the federation president, then they went to the international level. And we felt that if you are pursuing these goals and you take money from someone, it is unethical, because you will not give your full. When you take money from an investor, you need to give it full district return. So we refused that money which we are getting. We said, no, this is not the right time. We will finish our goals. This year, I will finish my goals. And then our next year, I will, at the age of 6. Of course, someone said, Dr. Pai, you are going to be 65. No investor will look at you. Age is so important you're irrelevant. No, I don't feel so. There's nothing like age for me. Age is in your mind. It's just a figure. So if you are good and active, investor will look at you. When I was going through the first investment, they always used to say the private equity, Dr. Pai, the business should be without you. We don't want you in the business.
The non-key man.
It has to run on its own, automate. But Steve Jobs also. Apple was Steve Jobs, right? Or Mark Zuckerberg is Facebook. So you need the glamour also. Obviously, you don't need to have a business dependent on you. It has to be standardized, but you need some glamour in the business. You need a face to the business. And in India, we are all human. Now we need the face. We need the Ambani, we need the Adani, we need the Tata, we need the Devi Shetties.
So, Dr. Pai, when I was reading about your journey, more than 4 decades of experience, been there, done that. When I met you in person, the first thing which struck me is a kind of modesty. It doesn't feel like that I'm meeting you for the first time. And also the simplicity. How do you, manage being so simple and so humble with all that you achieved?
I don't even have a watch and all. Most of the money that I have put in my machine. People put it in stock market, load along with land, car, Bitcoin. But for me, machine is very important. The our work is important because that's the return on investment, which is can't be quantified.
Brilliant. Beautiful, beautiful.
So financing is just not making money for the future, but you should also live for the moment, for the present. And my passion is to get the best technology for the patients and invest in that.
So while you were scaling the Bloom IVF, did you take any bank funding or you self-funded it with the growth, or what were the avenues to finance and handle the scale?
So I do some kind of bank funding, loan, but not major debt. But because debt is also important because it keeps on, setting off your, uh, you know, taxes and all that. So that kind of low level. And I feel that what I did was I always work with people. So I work with my colleague, Dr. Nandita. So we started the company. Similarly, I had this shop in shop model. I work with corporates. I work with corporate hospitals where I uh, took space in their hospital, put up my clinic. So, this, especially during COVID time, that really helped because, with the percentage split, they took care of the rentals and the electricity, which would have been a big problem in the COVID time, the outgoing. And I had my own independent spaces.
So that's a brilliant take-home message. So he has mentioned about how there is advantage because everybody says it. Why would a person of his caliber and brand stick with a corporate hospital for providing the various different healthcare services? And I think that shop-in-shop mechanism that we hear it in other corporates also works in healthcare. And there's another interesting thing which I would like to ask you now is the hub and spoke model which we see when you are expanding in different cities. How do you handle that?
So the hub and spoke model is conceptually like a bakery. So you have you bake your cakes and all particular whatever the main shed or wherever you want to do it, and then you distribute it in different parts. So similarly, my concept is that every city just needs one level vertical IVF center, and then it needs 7 8 because what has happened is that in the cities have grown very large, and the travel has become a problem. Suppose a patient who is staying 1.5 hours away, for that person to come to you become difficult. So you need to reach out to him. But you can't reach out to him with the vertical. You have to reach out with the just the front. And so my whole as I told you in January, I'll scale up my system, and in that system, the fronts will be the clinics, but they have to be self-sustaining clinic. You can't have a clinic which is outgoing. So a self-sustaining clinic in the community, let's say in a big metro like Bombay, having 8 10 self-sustaining clinic, and maybe one, or if the work becomes too big, one or two kitchens kind of.
Did you modern Bloom IVF on any Indian or an international brand or a chain?
No, not really. It's just that I started replicating the centers. So some centers didn't work also. See, it's very important to understand that a particular center may not work due to many variables. So it's very important to know it as soon as possible and shut it down. There's no point. What I realized is there's no point in flagging a dead horse.
So sometimes, most of these young doctors are actually, they're getting attracted to how to make more money and how to generate more revenue, because not only is it a pressure on them, but also on the corporate team with which they are working. So how did you manage this struggle?
In one of the corporates, I'll not mention the name, for 9 10 years, I ran the center. I was very reluctant, but the owners of those corporates wanted me to run that center there also. So I told them that because there was already one center in that particular city in their vicinity, so this is not going to run. But they said, no, Dr. Pai, we want it. It's not. So those owners were philosophically different. They were looking at giving care in the hospital. They were not looking at everything as a return on investment. Okay. And for the next 10 years, I ran it in a loss. But okay, I was happy that it was there, and everyone was then the ownership changed. And the new owners that came, they said, what is this Dr. Pai doing here? He's running a center in loss. We want it for some other medical facility, and they didn't renew my contract. And I when they did that, I was quite like taken aback because I never had faced this kind of thing where monetarily, my whole life has never been monetary. Okay, because I feel that in healthcare, not everything is a big money. You may do a big surgery like a orthopedic surgery, you may do a neurosurgery, you may do a cat. There's a lot of return, but healthcare is not just give money. Healthcare is service. There are a lot of areas like IVF there. The returns are not that large. You have to spend a lot of money. Your return is not as large as, let's say, you operate someone and he goes and 40 days is in ICU. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of income. But that, so philosophically, once your owners, they think that they start looking at things from monetary point of view, then you have lost the battle. Because healthcare is not money. Money, I feel, is a byproduct of healthcare. Healthcare is service. You are serving the people. And by the way, let me tell you, when I joined KM Hospital, my pay was 700 rupees. Okay, and I never thought, as I evolved in my life, I never thought that I will make money. We never expected. We never joined medicine to make money because that time my dad was a professor. He had 2,000 rupees pay per month. So it was never money. Money came as a coincidental thing. Most of us doctors, money came as a coincidental thing. So that we have to realize that medicine is service. Medicine is not money.
So I think this is a beautiful message. अगर माँ सरस्वती का वास है, माँ लक्ष्मी माता तो पक्का ही आ जाएगी. There is no doubt about it. Well, but in spite of that, sir, I want to ask you this question. In this era, where at one end there are a lot of new younger doctors coming in, some of them with deep pockets from their family and parents, and as a standalone clinics, and at the other end, a corporate chain of IVF clinics. How do you manage to survive in this onslaught from both the sides?
So, I have this new theory which I have not experimented, and that is the theory of collectivism, I feel. So, we doctors need to come together and start our corporate. Though it has been tried before, but it has to be tried in a different fashion where maybe certain aspects of your work, like for example, accounting practice, procurement, data keeping, marketing can be collectively handled. Let's say IVF doctors 100 come together. So these four things are collectively handled. They create a new company that handles all these things for them. They own that company and the independence of the people. See, doctors are very independent. They are very, I would say, like the lions, or the tigers. One of my friends says they are very territorial. They don't like some manager coming and telling them do this, do that, do that, do that. So can we create a model where their territory is maintained? They are happy.
So
They are
you're proposing to make an army of generals.
So what I felt that this collective, and this can be, see what is happening in the world today. So what is happening is the wealth is going and the power is going in the hands of a few individuals because they are funded by huge amount of funders because they have the credibility. Now, why would a investor fund you, a small ABCD doctor? Okay, but if there are ABCD XYZ 100 doctors, he will fund you, no? So collectivism. So the future is in collectivism.
So you mentioned about your early time when you chose to communicate through various news agencies about the newer technologies and services when it was absolutely alien or absolutely unknown when IVF was there. In present day era, it is the other way around. Everybody is talking about IVF. So how do you stay relevant?
So in the early stage of my career, because that time there was only the general practitioner who used to refer you patients. So then I used this medium of Google. I remember very few doctors were there on Google at that point in time. After as I started using Google, not many other doctors started coming in. Then I went to Google AdWord, and again, so I kept on evolving, and that space got flooded in. And then came the Instagram. And the Instagram, because social media, actually I was falling down because by the time a lot of chains were coming in and really going down slowly in our work, because obviously if someone is taking hundreds or crores of debt and growing it, saying that my top line is good, but they are in debt, how do you fight a debt with profit? I was a profit-driven company. How do you fight a debt-driven company funded by huge pockets? But suddenly,
That's a beautiful take home
like
message. Debt driven versus profit driven.
suddenly, as I was drowning in the water, I suddenly got a strand in my hand of Instagram, and I slowly pulled myself out of the drowning. And suddenly, Instagram gave me that access, because now what happened? People started looking at me, my career, and they started selecting. And Instagram has saved us. It is Mark Zuckerberg's best buy.
So, Dr. Pai, you got a very relevant point about uh, taking this whole education, patient education, through social media. A lot of times I meet doctors and they still have this traditional thinking that social media is not for them. But people like you and also people like Dr. Mukesh who've really used social media, I would say, in a way to spread medical education and take it to masses and make it available to everyone.
So in my early practice, when you decide to do ethical practice and you decide to do that, you will create a domain where, you will do. So how will the patient know that what you are? And where they see there for commodities in corporate practice, there is sampling. But for doctors, there's no sampling. But when a doctor sees Dr. Pai or Dr. Gupta on a social media, he knows exactly what they are actually going to get when they go into the consulting cabin. And that helps them to know that the doctor they are reaching out to is someone whom they are going to be comfortable with. And when Dr. Pai, a big brand, they feel that, he will not pay attention to us, he will not give us time. But when they see him, that he is such a simple person and he's easily approachable, that changes the whole dimension. Well, let me also tell you, whether it is a National Medical Council guidelines for ethical practice, or whether it is, a simple rules and regulations of privacy when it comes to the IT Act, we need to be watchful and careful. But having that in mind, patient education is something which is definitely a value, because if we doctors are not there on social media, then there will be those click hunters who are going to be there and giving wrong information to our patients and to our population, which is going to be dangerous for healthcare. I think I totally agree with Dr. Pai on this front.
I also feel that access to care and access to knowledge is very important. And I think our medical councils are very clear. If you refrain yourself from commercialization and you give knowledge to people and tell them where things are available, I don't think we are breaking any rule.
Yes, I totally agree with this. Only thing is we cannot ask for, you should not solicit. Yeah, that's the right terminology in our code of ethics. We cannot solicit for patients and promote services on those platforms.
So, Dr. Pai, behind every successful man, there's always a woman. But in your case, Dr. Rishma Pai, herself very successful as a gynecologist, so awe-inspiring to so many women in the country. So, it's who supporting the other. So, can you just elaborate on how do two individuals who are so successful, so powerful, when they come together, how do you strike that balance and how do you really help each other better as individuals and as couples?
I think you answered the question. So, I was fortunate enough to meet Rishma when I was a, registrar, and she was a medical student in my unit. And then we fell in love and we had a great marriage. And, we both respect each other a lot. And I feel that it's an advantage to be in the same line. We both were gynecologists, because you can go out together, you can go for conferences together. You understand? So, you're compared on the dining table, you can discuss things which are about gynec. And now my son is a gynecologist, and he's going to be wife is also a gynecologist.
So when on the dinner table with such who's who of the country and with such successful parents, that must be creating a lot of pressure on your son Arnav. How does he handle it?
So Arnav has been a great human being, and one of the most important things, Arnav is a gynecologist also, and he's very humble. Okay, and I think that's it's rubbed out our whole, upbringing is very important, and he really cares for the patients. And he always says, "Dad and Mom, you are so great," and when he says that, we feel so good now when your children appreciate you. And I would like to tell you an anecdote about Arnav, though that was when he was in DY Patil and he was doing his internship. So I have a IVF center in DY Patil also, because Nandita DY Patil's daughter. And so like I got a phone call saying that the AMO, and we have the PNDT Act, so the AMO had come to inspect the clinic and he wants to talk to you. Because so I said, why the AMO wants to talk to me of all things and all? So he said, no, but he's insisting that he wants to talk to you. So I said, okay. And I went on the phone. So he said, Dr. Pai, your Anna's father, he is a fantastic intern. He takes so much good care of the poor people who come to the primary health center. So okay, I was like totally like I told my wife, I said, fantastic, because this is the essence of medicine.
That's brilliant. So not only is he an ideal son, but he's a very total father that we know now.
And I wish him the very best. So he represents the younger generation, the future of the country, and the future is very bright. And the future is global. You understand? We in India can bring thousands of people from abroad. We are damn good in our skill, very good in our work. Our infrastructure is growing very well. And one day, let me tell you, just like the IT, just like all other fields, we will dominate the medical field. So, so for us, it's like a way of life. It's like our be all and end all of our life is gynecology. And, like see, when you are in this line, start respecting women, because my entire life has been full of women. My bosses have been women in medical college. My colleagues have been women. So, and they are all professional. They are working women. Women are, working women are like you. They have to do their housework plus they have to do their work. So they do double kind of work, and then you get a lot of respect for them. And like for me, whenever Rishma is successful, it's a matter of pride for me. I appreciate her success. I understand her success. So I think as a professional, that has given us that understanding.
So I think a big take home message is that you should respect, like in a relationship, respect for each other is very important, and that can fuel each other's success. And like he rightly said, I think a lot of women listening will be very proud that we are not only working, balancing a house, a family, but also work. And now you find women in forefront of almost every field. And I wish, Dr. Pai, a lot of men would think like you, that you have to respect women.
So there's a very interesting segment in our podcast, which is rapid fire. So this has become an iconic thing, and we don't want to complicate things by asking very difficult questions on rapid fire. But yes, are you ready for it?
Sure. Okay, here we go.
A medical innovation you wish you had invented.
It's called exogenesis, means having the baby born totally out of the body.
Oh, good Lord. Amazing.
Also, Dr. Pai, do you invest beyond medicines in equity, real estate, fixed deposits, or startup?
Yeah, of course, some amount of fixed deposit, but mainly systemic investment plan. And it's very important to have experts such as you who do the investment.
One doctor you admire deeply. You're not allowed to take your wife's name, so I'm saving you.
My dad, Dr. B.L. Pai, Padma Shri, Freedom Fighter. And
It is God's grace that you have such an amazing father.
Also, Dr. Pai, would you ever think about taking Bloom public?
yes, but I would go through the systemic, like first they take some investment in the form of private equity or debt, slowly grow the business and then take it public. So it has to be in steps.
So I think right thing at the right time. You have to raise money and also go public at the right time.
Right.
A book that changed your perspective.
Ayn Rand's Fountainhead.
Why?
Because it just inspires you. Actually the thought in it is that you should be the thought in that book is that he is very assertive, he believes in himself, etc., and he doesn't care about others. I don't remember exactly what the thought, but they are actual thoughts which are important for developing your career.
What do you think the next generation of doctors should understand about money?
So, they need to first focus on their career. So, the money that generates, because now it's become a lot of stress, a lot of new equipment is coming all the time, things are changing. You can't take the money out of your business. You have to put it back. Those good old days where we could do a great asset creation, but that may not be possible now because you need to be relevant. And so, and then later on, as you evolve, then you can start diversifying into real estate, stock market, some amount of gold as well. All that is comes at the later stage.
So I think, Dr. Pai, you what about a very important concept, which is asset allocation.
Beautiful. Most underrated skill in IVF that's not taught in the medical school.
Embryology.
I agree.
How to handle the embryos,
I totally agree.
fertilization.
If not a doctor, what would you be?
No, I think it is the best profession. I would still like to be a doctor and a gynecologist only.
Was that
I have no regrets about being a gynaec.
So as we come to the end of the podcast, I want to ask you one question. How would you want history to remember you as?
No, as I said before, many people will not remember you. But if at all I have to be remembered, I think I should be fondly remembered as a good, nice human being, and a great gynecologist, of course. I know by grace of God, achieved all the 4 parameters that I told you of, and of success. As far as I'm concerned. So, and now I'm now presently the trustee of the World Gynec Federation also, which is called FIGO. And I must say I achieved everything. So I hope people remember me.
I think this is what he gives us on table, and I think this is going to be memorable. Academics, professional responsibility and professional recognition, social values, where you reach out to the population and you're remembered for that. And last but not the least, when these 3 things are falling in place, you will be doing financially secure work. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. This was a very pleasant journey of this last 1 hour and a half, which has helped us to know so many things, which every average gynecologist can aspire for or look up to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mukesh. Thank you, Nehal.
Thank you so much. I think for me, the take-home message is that you pursue excellence and success will follow and money will also follow. Today, we learned about the humility it takes to innovate without losing your empathy, and above all, the perseverance it takes to keep showing up for the patients every day for the last 40 years. Dr. Pai, thank you for your time today and for the immense work which you've done to make parenthood possible for millions of Indians. To everyone listening, if this has inspired you, share it to a doctor or medical student and anyone building something meaningful in healthcare, because stories like Dr. Pai are the ones which needs to be heard, which needs to be shared, and which needs to be passed on.
I think we have learned so much in this session. We need to remember that if you are passionate about your work, and he gave a fantastic first focus on skilling and then focus on scaling, it's just a matter of time when you will reach profitability. Looking forward for you to log in for many more such podcasts in our series of Medical Monarchs, where we get on table and discuss so many things from their lives and how they have inspired not just themselves in their team, but also people around them and for ages to come. Looking forward. Please subscribe, like, and share.